Okay, so I'm going to try to make you guys narrate the PowerPoints to try to give you something extra to use to study for this chapter. So, chapter 4 covers a couple different concepts. So it covers tissues, it also covers homeostasis, and it covers body systems. So the first thing that we're going to cover in chapter 4 is tissues. So tissues are a group of cells that look the same, they're the same kind of cells, and they work together to do a job. So they perform a common function. There's 4 major tissue types in your body, and these 4 things are big 4 are important. So connective, muscular, nervous, and epithelial. I teach my anatomy students to remember CONMEN. So C is for connective, or CON, and then M is for muscular, and then epithelial, and then N is for nervous. So CONMEN or Seaman gets you the first letter of each one of these. Okay, so connective tissues, what they do is they're going to support and keep your body together. So what they're made up of and the way that they look is they have special cells, they have the background stuff in between the cells, and then they have protein fibers. So this ground substance is really just the stuff in between the cells, and it can be solid, it can be liquid. The ground substance and then the fibers together, they make up what we call the matrix of the tissue. So really the matrix of the tissue is just the stuff that's between the cells. Okay, now we're going to talk about 3 different types of connective tissue. So fibrous, supportive, and fluid. Okay, so fibrous connective is broken into 2 categories. So it's broken into loose and dense. Okay, so loose is called areolar as well as loose. It's underneath the epithelium of your skin. It's around organs. It gives you space. I'll show you a picture in a second, and it gives you space in between in between organs. Okay, we also have dense fibrous connective tissue. Oops, where's my pointer? Dense fibrous connective tissue. Okay, and that's made up of adipose. So that's a type of, well, adipose is loose. Dense is tendons and ligaments. Okay, and then we have specialized connective tissues. So they're supportive, connective in bone, fluid ones, which are blood and lymph. Okay, so adipose is a kind of loose. Areolar is a kind of loose. Dense are tendons and ligaments. Okay, supportive, cartilage and bone, fluid, blood, and lymph. Okay, so I just kind of talked about this. So there's 2 types of fibrous connective, dense or loose. Okay, they have these cells in them that are called fibroblast cells. And they have collagen and elastic fibers in between them. I'm going to show you a picture in a second. Okay, so I already kind of told you about loose fibrous. And then we also have adipose. So most of you have probably heard of adipose tissue. It's fat. Okay, so it's loose tissue. It's pretty, think about fat. It's loose, it's jiggly. Okay, and it's where we store fat. Okay, so if we look at this picture and look at picture 4.2 in your book, this is a knee. Okay, and they're just showing you all the different things that are all the different kinds of tissue that's found inside your knee. So this is supposed to represent loose fibrous tissue. Okay, so this tissue is going to be underneath your skin. Okay, it's got cells in there, it's got collagen, it's got elastic fiber. Okay, you can see in the picture on 4.2 what fat looks like. Fat's just big yellow cells, so usually fat kind of looks like this too. Okay, now let's talk about cartilage. Cartilage is, you hear about cartilage like today's football Sunday, so you hear about cartilage, someone's torn the cartilage in their body. Okay, so cartilage, the cells are found in these little chambers, and the chambers are called lacunae. Okay, so lacunae are like little lakes. The matrix, so what's in between the cells, is solid, but it's very flexible. Okay, and then we have 3 different kinds of cartilage. It depends on the kinds of fibers that are in between the cells. So hyaline cartilage is has collagen. You're going to find it in your nose, the ends of your long bones. It's in your trachea, which is your windpipe. The best way to think about it, at the ends of your long bones, it keeps the bones from rubbing together. So if I go back to this picture, it would be like here at these ends of these bones. So I always think of it kind of like Teflon coating that's going to keep those bones from rubbing together. It's hard, but it's also very smooth. Okay, elastic cartilage has a lot of elastic, so you can pull it out and it'll go back. So you find those elastic cartilage in your outer ear. And then fibrocartilage is very strong, and you find this in your vertebral discs, so the discs in between your vertebrae and your back. So if someone says they have a herniated disc or they slipped their disc, they're talking about a type of cartilage called fibrocartilage that's in between the bones in their back. Fibrocartilage is also found between the bones in your knee, so the meniscus of your knee. So if we go back to that picture again, this stuff right here, that would be fibrocartilage. Okay, now let's talk about bone. Bone makes sense. Everybody knows what bone is. Okay, so in bone, the cells are also in chambers called lacunae. Okay, so bone is made up of made up of calcium. It's also made up of protein. Okay, so the matrix is solid and rigid, so it's hard. It's made up of collagen, which collagen is going to allow your bone to bend some without breaking, and then the calcium is what's going to make it hard. So you could almost think of it like a fiberglass fishing rod. So fiberglass, it's strong, but it's also flexible. So your bone is like that. Okay, there's 2 different types of bone. There's compact bone, which is really hard, and it's going to be like the long parts of your long bones, the hard parts. They call them the shafts. So if you think about your leg, the bones of your shin, okay, that's going to be compact bone. Now, spongy bone is in the ends of the long bones. It's also in your hip bone, and that's where you're going to find your bone marrow. So bone marrow is where blood is made. Or you can even think about chicken. Okay, so let's go back to chicken. So if you had a chicken breast or a chicken leg even, and you it wasn't cooked yet, you could actually see this is the hard bone. Okay, and the spongy bone is kind of in here. Spongy bone is going to be in there. So if you think about eating, like somebody chewed on the bone and they sucked the marrow out, okay, where the marrow is, that's the spongy bone. Okay, the hard bone is the rest of it. Okay, so here's bone. Okay, the cartilage is the stuff that's going to help hold the, here's fibrous cartilage. Okay, so here's the knee again. Okay, so bone, we went over what bone looked like. The cartilage, if you look at, this is what it would look like if you used a microscope to look at hyaline cartilage, which is the cartilage found on the ends of the bone. It keeps them from rubbing together. So it's real smooth in between. And then these little things, I always think they look like owl eyes or something. They're the cells that make it living. Okay, so okay, and then I don't have a picture of the tough cartilage like the meniscus, but here's where it would be. Okay, now we're going to talk about these things, these bands. Well, in a minute. Okay. So first, let's talk about fluid connective tissue. So one kind of fluid connective tissue is blood. Okay, so blood, the matrix would be liquid. Okay, so it's fluid. Okay, the matrix is called plasma. Okay, so you guys have heard of plasma. Okay, and then the cells that are in the plasma are called formed elements. So there's three kinds of formed elements. One is called red blood cells. Okay, the job of red blood cells is to carry oxygen. Sometimes we call red blood cells RBCs. Okay, we also have white blood cells, and there's different kinds of white blood cells. There's like 5 different kinds. So white blood cells, they're a really important part of our immune system. They're going to fight infection. And then we have platelets, and platelets are little cell fragments, and they are going to be important in clotting your blood. So blood is considered a connective tissue. Okay, now the last fluid is lymph. Okay, so lymph, when we draw pictures of it in the book, we always make it yellow or green. And lymph it's just fluid, and in it are white blood cells. So if white blood cells are important for your immune system, these are going to be important for fighting inflammation, fighting disease. Lymph nodes are a part of your lymph system, your immune system. We'll talk about that more in another chapter. Okay, I'm going to stop this video now so it doesn't get too huge.